Well, if you love Indian summer, Cincinnati is the place to be. It is a gorgeous night in the Queen City. And we welcome you to Great American Ballpark. The Reds set to begin the final 3 games of the regular season. They'll entertain the Milwaukee Brewers. And hi again, everybody, alongside Chris Welsh. I'm Tom Brenneman. Welcome, as always, to Reds Baseball. The starting rotation for the postseason has not been officially announced, Chris, but you have to figure the young man we'll see on the mound tonight, Travis Wood, would very much figure in those postseason plans.
Well, it's very likely right now, Tom, that the Phillies are going to be the opponent the Reds will face in the first round. And if that's the case, why wouldn't you run out Travis Wood? I mean, after all, the guy is very good against left-handers, and that left-handed predominant lineup that Charlie Manuel has in Philadelphia is something to think about. He's been very good on the mound. He's so cool and calm. He's got great stage presence. For me, young guys don't normally do well in postseason. If they're jittery, he's not jittery one bit. I mean, he just looks like he belongs out there. And the fact when you look at what he has done against the Phillies in his short term, he almost pitched a perfect game against them early in the year, right before the All-Star break. 9 innings of no-run baseball. He holds left-handers to a low batting average. He would be a pick, I imagine, to be maybe not number 1, but maybe number 2 or 3, just because he's left-handed and he seems so seasoned out there.
This will obviously be his final start of the regular year, trying to cap it off with a win like Bronson Arroyo did last night. Some youngsters on the upswing as this season comes to an end. We'll talk about that in a moment.
Without the express written consent of the Cincinnati Reds.
Our telecast tonight of Reds baseball and every night the entire year on Fox Sports Ohio is presented in beautiful high definition courtesy of our friends from H.H. Bread. A picture perfect weather night right now. What about the rest of the evening? Let's check in with our good buddy Tim Hedrick.
Tommy Brenneman, you got to remember this old pinball arcade game. Ball used to come out right here. You swing the bat here, went up one of these ramps. Grand salami! I used to spend dime after dime after dime at the old Ben Franklin. I bet Tommy Brenneman did too. 68, first pitch down to 58. Another nice night at the old ball yard. How about a grand salami to send you away? Oh, give me another dime.
Had a lot of fun with Tim this season. We thank him. Been a lot of fun as the season's gone on for Jay Bruce and Bruce Stubbs.
Well, you're not kidding about that. Jay Bruce with that historic and walk-off clinching home run, and he's really been on fire. Jay Bruce, when he started deciding that he's not going to try to hit the ball to left field all that much, when he's going to hit the ball up the middle and pull the ball, he's gotten some elevation and big home runs. And you talk about a guy that can use his hands at the plate. Drew Stubbs uses his hands. Look at him just flip that bat through the strike zone right there. He uses those hands as well as anybody on this ball club to generate tremendous bat speed. You know, there's no part of the ballpark that can hold Drew Stubbs. I mean, that combined with his incredible speed, you've got two very talented youngsters. Jay Bruce, if you look at this graph, you realize that he never really varied much more than 15 points on his batting average all year long. This does look like a dramatic drop and a dramatic rise. We're only talking about 15 points right there. So he's been pretty consistent, but getting better and better, especially after a year from when he broke his wrist at Citi Field in New York in 2009. Drew Stubbs, well, he's been on the upswing. He had a very tough early part of the year. You can see he was struggling down around 230 when it came to May. And that slump took him all the way into July right here. And you say, what the heck? Does Drew Stubbs need time in the minor leagues or what? No, all he needed to do was get past the month of July. And then he started skyrocketing. He has his batting average now up over 250 again. And Drew Stubbs, Jay Bruce, two of the young guys that you're going to be hearing us talk about for a long, long time.
Did you draw those with a crayon earlier today?
I was in your pencil kit. You'll notice there's something missing.
Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. By Ford F-Series trucks and best-selling trucks 33 straight years. By Just for Men for mustache and beard, keep your edge. And by Skyline Chili. With Chris Welsh hit a number on that tonight. Whenever you're feeling good and hungry, it's Skyline time.
I wasn't the only one in there, partner.
You aren't lying. Ken Maka would probably like Skyline. He's a Pittsburgh guy. Here's his lineup, brought to you by Cincinnati Bell. Ricky Weeks, Corey Hart, and Ryan Braun. They have three players in this lineup that have knocked in over 100 runs. Prince Fielder's not one of them. Casey McGee is. Lorenzo Cain in center. A latter third of Escobar, Lucroy, and Mark Rogers making his second major league start. And on the mound for the Reds, left-hander Travis Wood.
I've been pretty consistent all year long as Travis Wood. A good, solid, repeatable delivery, and that's the key to Wood and his being where he is right now. Finally had a year in which his arm did not bother him at all, and he reached the kind of potential the Reds thought when they drafted him a few years ago. Got a quick arm. He's sneaky fastball to throw that 90-mile-an-hour fastball right by you. Good control and cool and confident on the mound.
So the strike one pitch we're underway, and that one misses low and in. 1 ball and 1 strike to Ricky Weeks. You see the numbers on Wood, making his 17th major league start, and already closing in on 100 innings. Should go right by that here tonight. On the ground, foul, and Wood ahead of Ricky Weeks, and 1 ball and 2 strikes. Chris, I thought you made a very interesting point about Wood. Cool, confident, not the kind of kid you would think that would be rattled by pitching in a playoff game.
If he is, he's holding it on the inside. And I mean, that's the big key right there. You know, he is a guy that even when he was pitching that near perfect game in Philadelphia time, you couldn't tell whether he had given up 10 hits or was on the verge of pitching a perfect game. That's just the kind of demeanor that he shows you. Plus, he's got so much confidence in his stuff, in his fastball. If you chart the number of pitches that he throws and the types of pitches, he predominantly goes with his fastball. And it's not a 96-mile-an-hour fastball like Edinson Volquez. I mean, it's 90, 91 miles an hour. But he's got such confidence that he can spot it where he wants and get it on the hitter before he can get that bat head through.
Weeks is having a career year with 28 home runs and 82 runs batted in. Talked about it when we were in Milwaukee. I'm not sure there's been a more productive front 5 in a batting order from any team in the major leagues. 3 of the first 5 hitters have knocked in 100. The other 2, 82 RBIs for Weeks, 83 batted in for Prince Fielder. That's run production. Still 2-2.
Well, they're real optimistic about 2011. The Brewers are. They feel like they've got, as you said, Tom, a great foundation of offense and good defense in the field. What they need to shore up is their pitching. A little bit of a cut fastball right there. You see the spin on that, almost going side to side. The idea is to run that ball right in on his hands.
Well, and the count has gone full.
Good fastball hitter, and he'll be looking for one here.
Eighth pitch of his bat. Wood against Weeks, and it's on the ground to Brandon Phillips. Well, it took him 8 pitches, but he retires the leadoff batter. And we take a look at the Reds on defense, presented by Ford. Just about all the regulars in there tonight. Gomes, Stubbs, and Bruce. Roland back in the lineup at third. Votto at first. Phillips at second. Yanish for Cabrera at short. Wood and Ramon Hernandez, the batter. One away for Corey Hart. Native of the Commonwealth of Kentucky. 31 home runs and 100 runs batted in. Ground to roll and 2 away.
2 batters, both ground balls and both cutters that have gone in on the hands of the right-handers. You know, Travis Wood and Ramon Hernandez recognize the fact that this is a very good fastball hitting team. And you just can't lay it out over the center of the plate. But if you get that ball running in on them a little bit, they read it as a fastball. At the last moment, that ball moved 2 or 3 inches inside, missed a sweet spot, and you get some ground balls.
Here comes Ryan Braun. Batting average at .306, 25 home runs, 103 batted in to go along with 44 doubles. So you don't hear his name immediately brought up in the conversation, but you would have a very hard time finding 3 or 4 players that have been more productive players in the last 4 years than Ryan Braun. He's only the 3rd player in franchise history to have 3 consecutive 100 RBI seasons. This guy's a player. Still 0-2 on Braun.
Well, you talk about his last 4 years. In his first 4 years, Tom, and those are the ones you're talking about, 128 home runs. That is the 8th best, as in 7, 8, 8th best ever in the history of the major leagues. And just about everybody who has done that is in the Hall of Fame if they're retired. And if they're not, you're talking about guys like Ryan Howard and Albert Pujols. I mean, you're looking at the elite of the elite right here when you've got a slugger like Ryan Braun.
And of course, in the middle of the ball, that is a position change for Braun, who initially came to the big leagues as a third baseman. They asked him to move to left field, and he was very comfortable in doing so.
Didn't bother Albert Pujols either.
No. 1-2 pitch. Got him looking to end the inning. A good start tonight for Travis Wood. He retires aside in order, and the Reds are coming up. Brandon Phillips to follow, then Joey Votto. Monster numbers for Votto. 12 batted in 9 games against Milwaukee. Roland, Bruce, and Gomes in the middle. Hernandez, Giannis, and Wood at the end. Making his second major league start, his 4th appearance, is right-hander Mark Rogers.
Well, the Reds are sporting a lot of their former #1 draft picks on their roster. And I think the last 5 of the 6 years the Reds have on their roster right now that #1 pick. And Mark Rogers is a former #1 pick. He's a Brewers' future. They really hope that he and Giovanni Gallardo are the 1-2 for many, many years to come. A power arm, and I'm talking about 95 to 96 miles an hour. And he grew up in a very small island in Maine, right off the area of Brunswick, Maine, and grew up lobstering with his family. So the lobster man turned right arm pitcher. We'll see what he's got on the ball today.
Lobster. Wow. How about that? Bruce Tubbs digging in. And looks at a fastball high, ball 1. 22 home runs and 77 batted in for Drew Stubbs. He had a home run, knocked in 4 here last night. You know, much has been made about the starting rotation. Who's going to be in it, who's not, when are they going to pitch, what game will it be against any number of particular teams. A week and a half ago you thought you might play. It's starting to look more and more like Philadelphia. But what about the batting order? I mean, Brandon Phillips, by and large, has been the leadoff hitter. for quite some time. Orlando Cabrera was in there for quite a while during the year after Drew Stubbs failed at the beginning of the year. But now all of a sudden Stubbs is coming on strong. And not only hitting the ball with authority, Chris, but doing a lot more of this. He draws a walk.
Well, that's the whole idea of a leadoff hitter, is to get on base. You know, you want a guy to take a lot of pitches and do those little things. But bottom line is, on-base percentage is the single most important thing a leadoff hitter can do. And, you know, Dusty Baker would love to see Drew Stubbs there, because eventually that's the idea of having a guy with his kind of speed and then somebody with great bat control following him up like Brandon Phillips. Can slash the ball to right field, put hit and run on, put a bunt and run on. All sorts of options when you have a guy as talented as Phillips. But, of course, we're talking about a lineup still without Orlando Cabrera in it today, who has oftentimes been used in a number 2 spot.
Stubbs on base percentage is up over 400 here in the month of September. That's doing it.
Just looking for a little carryover, that's all, from September to October.
Stubbs already a 20-20 player this year. 20 or more home runs, 20 or more stolen bases. He's got 3 games left in the regular season to get to 30 steals. He might get it in this game tonight. There he goes. And there's no chance. That's number 29. He might get number 30 in this inning.
He had a big lead and a big jump. That combination, if you're a catcher, you just stick it in your pocket.
Two and 0 the count on Brandon Phillips. The Brewers not believing for a second that he might be up there to try and put down a bunt. He takes all the way 2-0, and that's a strike.
You know, the thing you have to remind yourself about Drew Stubbs, that this is his first full season in the major leagues. He really only had about a quarter of a season last year, and he missed eligibility to be a rookie this year by less than 20 at bats. So you're looking at really a first-year player out there having the kind of year that he's having. A 2020 player, I mean, a minimum going years forward. That's what you automatically pencil into your big matrix as you're looking at where the Reds' runs and offense is going to come from. Well, you're looking at a 2020 guy right there just to start. And he may end up being bigger than that.
You know, all that was made about the very talented Jason Hayward of the Atlanta Braves, I think until we mentioned the numbers already tonight, if somebody would have told you that Drew Stubbs has more runs batted in than Jason Hayward, I think all of us would say not a chance. Well, that's exactly what he's done. And it goes to show that if Stubbs was able to play this season as a rookie and be in the running for that award, there he goes to third, they would not have thrown him out. It swung on and fouled out of play, sending the count to 3-2. I don't think there's much doubt about it. Drew Stubbs would win the National League Rookie of the Year this year.
I think it would be a runaway.
Now, Gabi Sanchez, I remember we talked about him at the beginning of the year with the Marlins.
Yep.
Chris, you and I both really liked him. Well, what a year he's had. 85 runs batted in. Buster Posey, after coming up, has been a huge addition to the San Francisco Giants. That is a fail. Oh, it looked like for a second there that Tim Wilkie was thinking about it. Very close.
All right, now Mark Rogers, the Brewers pitcher, simply just trying to throw strikes. He walked the leadoff man. He's gotten 3 balls to Brandon Phillips, and he's pumping fastball after fastball in there. And Brandon nearly picked himself up an extra base hit. He's not really paying a whole lot of attention to Drew Stubbs out there right now. His main concern is finding the strike zone. His main concern is getting to third base.
Still 3-2 on Brandon. Eighth pitch of this at bat. Phillips against Mark Rogers with a runner at second and nobody out. This will get the job done advancing the runner. Phillips thrown out. But Stubbs standing at third with only one out in the inning. Let's take a look at Milwaukee on defense presented by Ford. They'll go with Braun, Lorenzo Cain, who made one of the great plays of this baseball season in this very ballpark, and Corey Harding right. McGee and Fielder on the corners. Escobar and Weeks up the middle. Rogers and Lucroy the batter. Here comes Joey Votto. Ball one away to Votto as 111 runs batted in. See those numbers against Milwaukee this year. Better than a .450 batter with 3 homers. And in the 9 games, Joey has knocked in 12 runs. Brought it up a couple of nights ago, knowing that Carlos Gonzalez and the Rockies will not be in the postseason. Albert Pujols and the Cardinals will not be in the postseason. You throw in Joey Votto, who will. Those have been the 3 primary contenders for the National League's most valuable player. This winning a divisional championship put Votto over the top.
Well, I don't think it's really only a battle of numbers. I mean, some writers who vote think that way, but I would. You know, you go back to the day when Barry Larkin won the MVP award, and he got a lot of credit for being a leader on his ball club. And I think what Joey Votto has done for this team, there's no way they would be where they are right now if he did not have an MVP type season. In fact, it was a Triple Crown type season for a very long time. That's why I would suggest he probably gets a nod, although the other guys had great years.
Good rip on a 1-1 fastball, fouled away. Well, you believe when all is said and done, Votto wins it?
I think he does.
Of course,
I'm a Reds guy. Why would I not think so? I'm sure there's some. I mean, look, these are numbers down here with Albert Pujols, 42 home runs. I mean, that's hard to ignore. The guy's having a typical Albert Pujols year. But I think the fact that Votto, of all these 3, his team is going to the postseason, the others aren't. Sometimes that will give you the edge, and that's the reason. If I was impartial, I'd still go with Votto.
This will be another run batted in, a liner to Corey Hart, and Stubbs will easily score, and it's 1-0.
You know, I really like that kind of run because that's a type of run, a manufactured run that you just might need and see in the postseason. You get a runner on base with a base on balls. He's smart enough and quick enough to steal. You move him over with a ground ball. And then you get a guy up there to hit a simple line drive, fly ball to right field, and you drive him on in.
So 2 down, the base is empty. And here's Scott Rowland. A .290 batter, 20 home runs, 84 runs batted in. Fastball, strike 1 at the belt. And you know, you almost wonder. And it's little things now that you start thinking about because, yeah, can the Reds still get the number 2 seed? Yeah, they can. They'd have to sweep this series, and San Diego would have to sweep the Giants over the weekend. That's a long shot. But the little things we'll be talking about over these final 3 games of the regular season will apply to the postseason, as Chris just brought up, about manufacturing runs. You know, you wonder, take this inning in a playoff game. Say it's the first inning of Game 1 against Roy Halladay.
Okay.
You get a walk to Drew Stubbs, who then steals a base. At that point, against a guy like Halladay, are you asking Brandon Phillips to bunt? Does it change if Brandon Phillips is the leadoff guy? Are you asking him to steal? His percentage is not very good this year. Are you more likely to go with a hit and run with a guy like Cabrera if indeed he's in the 2 holes? Just little things to certainly make these final 3 games maybe a little bit more interesting and things to talk about. The inning is over on the ground ball to third. A walk, stolen base, ground out, fly out. Reds lead 1-0. serious lawyers for serious injuries. Call 1-800-ELK-OHIO. Now, if the playoffs started today, here's the way it would look. The Reds would go to Philadelphia and play on Wednesday, off day Thursday, play again on Friday, then come back to Cincinnati a week from Sunday for Game 3. The Giants would open at home against the wild card Atlanta, but there are games this weekend that could change that entirely. The Braves are playing Philadelphia. The 3-game series. Game 1 there will start in about 5 minutes from now. Atlanta has a 2-game lead over San Diego in the wild card, and you know about San Diego and the Giants. A 3-game lead for San Francisco with 3 to play against the Padres. Going 2 to Prince Fielder. Reds lead 1-0. It will be very interesting to watch what happens during the offseason in regard to this man, Fielder. Will he be a Brewer next year? Playing in his final year before free agency. That ball clubbed into right center field, but off the end of the bat. And Stubbs with plenty of room for out number 1.
Travis Wood going back to that cutter again. That's the pitch that you see anywhere from 86 to 88 miles an hour to a left-hander, even more lethal than it is to a right-hander. Goes down and away from Prince Fielder and gets him out on the end of the bat instead of the sweet spot. I think the first 4 outs in his ball game have all come on that Travis Wood cutter.
Casey McGee takes up and away, 2 balls and no strikes. Hammered foul off his front foot. McGee 22 home runs and even 100 driven in. Here's another guy that would need 3 more doubles to reach 40 of those. That's a very good number.
Huge year. I mean, they've got 3 guys in their lineup with each with 100 runs batted in. And Casey McGee's the guy you really forget about, batting way down the number 5 spot in the order. This is a very, very tough and formidable lineup, especially for a left-handed pitcher to face.
Off the end of the bat, and Votto out to get it. 2 away in the inning. Well, of course, next week it all begins, and you can catch all the action in Major League Baseball's postseason on Fox and TBS. The excitement begins October the 6th. That's next Wednesday with the Division Series on TBS.
And after every Reds playoff game, don't forget to turn to the team that has covered you all season long. Jim Day, Jeff Picoro, myself will give you the most comprehensive highlights plus reaction from the players and coaches after every Reds playoff game on your home of the Reds, Fox Sports Ohio.
You'll be paying a lot of city taxes in Cleveland, Ohio, as much time as you'll be spending up there.
That's where the Fox Sports studio is. Jim Day and I will be up there. Jeff Picoro will be on the scene.
You're going to be spending a lot of time in Cleveland.
For a Cincinnati guy, way too much time. But like many of you at home, I'll be tuned into the game when they're playing over, probably in Philadelphia, waiting for that post-game interview with Jeff Picoro, and Jim Day and I will break it on down for you.
I can't wait to see you guys. Right after it's over, I'm going to make my way to the closest spot where they'll have it on the tube and be dialed in. One and 2 on Lorenzo Cain, and he's gone on strikes. 6 in a row. Retired by Travis Wood to begin the game, and he has a 1-0 lead. Toyota Tundra. A Reds player needs to hit one of the signs, and tonight it would be Jeffrey Lewis, who would win the beautiful new Tundra on display right here at Great American Ballpark. From out No Kills, you can still register for your chance to win. You better get in there tomorrow at your Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky Toyota dealer. Oak Hill's head is the alma mater of our distinguished producer Brian Hunterman. His kids went to school out there, and his son, a highly decorated quarterback and baseball player over at Oak Hills High. Oh, and one to Jay Bruce, leading things off here in the Reds' second inning, leading 1-0. Ball and a strike to Jay Bruce. He'll be followed by Johnny Gomes and Ramon Hernandez. Jay gone on strikes, and that's the first strike out of the game for Rogers. So right now you can chat with Hall of Fame baseball writer Hal McCoy. Check out the Ohio Sports Mix podcast with Bronson Arroyo exclusively. FoxSportsOhio.com, presented by 1-800-SAFE-AUTO and SafeAuto.com. Get up to speed on what's happening as well in the Big Ten this weekend. Conference play beginning in college football. And one to Johnny Gomes at 266, 18 home runs, 85 batted in. Our good buddy Bill Schroeder, longtime major league catcher, now the television analyst of the Milwaukee Brewers. We were talking before the game, and he said, of everybody on your team, he asked me, he said, who would be the biggest surprise offensively for the Reds? And he said to me, he said, well, is Johnny Gomes that guy? I don't know, Chris. Drew Stubbs or Johnny Gomes? Would they be the two that you would think of?
Yeah, well, you know, you have to put Jay Bruce into that as well, because Jay Bruce was hitting 225 last year, and he's hitting 277 this year. So I think he's made huge strides from having kind of a sophomore slump. But and Drew Stubbs has come along after having only had a quarter of a season under his belt before coming into this campaign. Drew Stubbs scuffled early on, and he's come on strong towards the end. It seems like he's getting it. Johnny Gomes, maybe not so much. I mean, his run production, his home runs are down from last year to this year, but his runs batted in are way up from 51 runs batted in last year to over 80 runs batted in this year.
He looks at a third strike, 2 away in the inning.
But you know what, Tom? You look at guys like Gomes and Stubbs and Bruce, and neither of those three are going to be, all-stars based on what they did this year. But they're pieces to the puzzle, and they've all been able to play their part so well. And as far as a pretty good defensive outfield, I mean, I'd like to see you name me a better defensive outfielder in the National League than what you see there with Stubbs in center and Bruce in right and Johnny Gomes in left. Johnny Gomes was, maligned for his defense, but he was so much better than advertised, and he works hard at it too.
Well, of course, from a defensive standpoint, you could say that about this entire Reds team.
Yeah. I mean, this team, I'm watching on TV the last few nights, and balls are hit into the gap that against other teams fall for doubles. They're being caught by our outfielders. Jay Bruce ran one down last night against the wall in right center field, and I couldn't believe that ball didn't fall for an extra base hit. And that becomes somewhat routine where you don't realize how good you have it until you start seeing some other defenses play.
Ramon Hernandez pops up to the shortstop Escobar. A 1-2-3 second for Rogers. Reds still lead it here, 1-0. Negotiations ongoing with Dusty Baker. Well, Johnny Gomes says, I think this team has really responded to Dusty's style of managing. Brandon Phillips, he gives us leadership, direction, a father figure. And Jay Bruce, he's such a big part of what we've done. He's a great guy to play for. Much has been written in the paper the last couple of days about the Reds and manager Dusty Baker very close to finalizing a contract. His first contract expires at the end of this year. And Dusty Baker is taking the third different franchise that he has managed to the postseason. The Giants, the Cubs, and now the Redlegs. Reds in front as we begin the third, 1-0. 6 in a row set down by Wood. So the latter third in the order, Escobar, Lucroy, and Rogers. One and two on Alcides Escobar, and that's strike three called. And Escobar saying, wait a minute, the catcher couldn't even catch the ball. And that's the third strikeout of the game for Travis Wood.
When Travis Wood, his ball just explodes on you, and you don't realize how quick the ball gets on you until you stand up close. And I've never been in the batting box against him, but stood behind the cage and watched, and you can tell by the reaction of the hitter. They just don't pick the ball up coming out of his hand. The ball's got great movement on it, bounces right out of the glove of Hernandez. Third strikeout in 3 innings now for Travis Wood.
Jonathan Lucroy, the catcher, takes ball one. Lucroy getting his first taste to the big leagues. He's done a nice job for the Brewers. .256 hitter, 4 home runs, 24 runs batted in. A ball and a strike. Well, what a great time of the year this is. Everybody talks so much about the spring and how you have baseball getting started in the NCAA basketball tournament. It's pretty hard to beat when your home team is going to the playoffs. And you've got the baseball postseason to look for, college football, the NFL being played. I don't know how it gets much better than that.
High school football
no
is
doubt.
evidence tonight.
You got high school games all over the area. Kentucky, Indiana, of course, Ohio. Full slate of games tomorrow. I think UC's off tomorrow. Ohio State will be playing in Champaign, Illinois. Trying to maintain their #2 ranking. You've got some other big-time college football games tomorrow. Bengals and the Brownies going toe-to-toe up in Cleveland on Sunday. 3-2 on Lucroy. Lined into left, but Gomes is there for the second out of the inning. Well, certainly one of the real stories for the Reds this year. 2 things they wanted to do before the year began: play better on the road and play better in their division. Only the Minnesota Twins have been better inside their own division than Dusty Baker's Cincinnati Reds. 18 games over 500.
Well, you know what they've done? They've taken advantage of the other teams in this division that took a step backwards this year. And you don't feel sorry for them. I mean, the Cubs played a lot of very close ball games. I think they lost 32 one-run ball games, if I'm not mistaken. But they took a step back. The Brewers took a step back. And the Reds have dominated them really all year long. The only team they didn't play all that well against win-loss wise was the St. Louis Cardinals. And the Cardinals, strangely enough, had problems with the rest of the teams in the division. That's the reason why the Reds are where they are, and the Cardinals are packing to go home.
Tell you what's interesting, getting back to the teams we saw in that list. You saw Minnesota, Cincinnati, both of them Central Division champions of their respective leagues. but the 5th best record inside their division in all the baseball, the Houston Astros. They got off to that terrible start for the first 3 months.
And really
after the Phillies and Reds, they have the 3rd best record in the National League since July.
Exactly, and that's when they traded, their superstars, Roy Oswalt, Lance Berkman. That's when they started playing better.
Sounded like he broke his bat on a foul ball over the screen out of play. That's because he did. Would a strike away from making it 9 consecutive outs to start the game, and that's what he does. Reds lead 1-0.
Reds. For the remainder of the 2010 regular season, students can purchase half-price tickets for select seating sections at Reds home games tomorrow and Sunday. Purchase student tickets at the ballpark windows or by logging on to reds.com/students. Only 2 games left, and if you're a student, half-price seats await you. Reds trying to extend a 1-0 lead as they go to the bottom of the 3rd inning, and Paul Janisch will lead it off.
Reds scored without a hit in the 1st inning. A leadoff walk to Drew Stubbs, who stole a base, went to 3rd on a ground out by Brandon Phillips, and scored on a line drive to right by Joey Votto. So neither team with a hit. The Reds with a game's only run. Ball 1 to Janisch. Oh, they called it a strike. Janisch at .263, 5 home runs, 24 batted in, a 2-hopper down the 3rd, and that's easy. 1 out.
Tell you, this young man, Mark Rogers, is off to a pretty nice start so far. Not only tonight, but in his major league career. This is his 4th game overall, his 2nd start. He's going to be limited tonight to about 75 pitches. But he pitched 3 innings in his last game, and that was his first start against the Marlins. Went 3 innings of no-hit baseball. Has not given up a hit in his previous 2 relief appearances. So here he is, 7 innings into his major league career, and he has yet to give up a major league hit.
Well, this young man's had to really stay with it, hang in there, not get down, not get discouraged. We mentioned in 2007 and in 2008. He had surgeries, that's plural, on his right shoulder. One in January of 07 and the other one in June of '08. We talk so much about guys coming back from serious elbow problems as Wood has gone on strikes. But Chris, when pitchers get the news that they've got to have shoulder surgery, the success ratio in that category has not been nearly as good.
Yeah, that's a whole different ball game right there. You know, that elbow surgery can almost be looked upon as a tune-up nowadays, even if it's as a Tommy John type surgery. But when you start cutting on the shoulder and you try to put it back, and the rehab is so long and you put strain on it, well, this young man has not had one but two separate major shoulder surgeries after being drafted out of high school in 2004 and the #1 pick that Brewers had. In fact, that year, the Brewers picked up Giovanni Gallardo, their ace of the staff, in the second round of that draft. And they really think that this young man, along with Gallardo, is going to, along with Randy Wolf, will anchor that pitching staff next year.
We saw tonight only the third start by a rookie in the Brewers rotation. The Reds with 47 of them.
That's incredible.
Yep. If you would just look at that number alone and then ask even a very educated baseball fan, okay, which team do you think had a better year? 99 out of 100 are going to say that team that had only 3 starts made by a rookie.
And if that team with 47 starts by rookies ended up right under 500, you'd say, hey, we are so on track for next year. Wait till these guys get some experience. Well, a lot of people look at this Reds ball club, especially from the standpoint of pitching, and say they may be a year ahead of schedule. These are the kind of arms that you have, and the quality of arms up and down your minor league system now, that it's going to keep you there for a while.
Got to pray for that good health for each and every one of them, and you are in business. 2-2 on Drew Stubbs. And that's it.
Man.
A 1-2-3 third for Rogers. He struck out 4, but he trails 1-0. Kentucky Toyota dealers, where you can register to win a Tundra at Great American Ballpark. By JTM Food Group, proudly serving the finest food service operations in the industry, restaurants, schools, and the military. JTM Food Group. By Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Visit geico.com or call 1-800-947-AUTO. And by GMC. We are professional grade. Beautiful night in Cincinnati. Saw where they're maybe saying a little bit of rain Sunday, a little bit Monday, but beginning next Tuesday, if they're correct. Our good friend Tim Hedrick saying starting next Tuesday, all the way through at least the following Sunday, we are looking at nothing but sunshine and temperatures in the 70s. And that's about that following Sunday, if the Reds indeed open on the road, as Weeks is, I believe, hit by a pitch. Yes, he was. Got him on the foot to begin this 4th inning with the Reds in front 1-0. That next Sunday would be the first game, Game 3 in a division series.
There's that cutter slider again. I'm not really sure exactly how to characterize him. I was just going to call it a cutter slider because he throws it hard like a fastball, and it cuts hard into a right-handed hitter. It squeaks right on the little back puppy right there. He's got 11 bags. Maybe that'll slow him down a little bit.
Well, the Brewers have been hit by more pitches than any team in the National League this year, 80 of them. On Corey Hart, and it's in the air in foul territory, and that ball's out of play.
Well, getting off to a good start, that's what Travis Wood is all about, like everybody else on this list. Through the first 3 innings of a ball game, what's your earned run average? And a lot of times that earned run average is skyrocketed because the first inning is oftentimes tough for the starter to pitch. Not for Travis Wood. He is among the best right there and getting off to a good start. Right now, his earned run average in this ball game an even 0. You start looking at Travis Wood's stuff and his fastball time. We've talked about it. He's used his cutter a lot. When he throws his curveball, it is one of the best curveballs around, but he's very, very shy about using it. He just doesn't break it out all that often. But it is a hammer when he drops it on you.
In the air right field, Bruce backing up. He'll have room. 1 out. And let's take a look now at our AT&T trivia question for tonight. Who has the most career home runs in the postseason for the Reds?
Has to be a big Red Machine member, right?
Oh, yeah. Well, I promised myself a long time ago that anything that had to do with home runs in a Reds uniform, I would guess every single time Johnny Bench. He's a career leader of the franchise in home runs and spent his entire career here. So I'm going with JB. How about you?
I think I'm going with JB too. I mean, that's almost a layup.
I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if it turned out to be somebody else.
Could be Tony Perez.
Could be. He was on all those big Red Machine teams.
George Foster.
Well, you know, George wasn't around in 70 and he wasn't around in 72. So, you know, your best guess is going to be one of those 2 names you just fired out there, because they were on all of those teams. 70, 72, 73 when they got beat by the Mets, 75 and 76, and then what again in 77 they got beat? Or was that a year later? 79 they got beat by the Pirates when they won the World Series. Of course, Pete Rose was on all those teams, but he wouldn't be, I don't think, your guess for home runs. Although then again with Pete, wouldn't be surprised by anything he did. There's a foul ball and a shattered bat. 2-2 on Ryan Braun.
Well, that's a lethal looking bat right there. Scott Rowland really didn't know which way to turn. His ball was to his right. The shattered bat head was whirly-birding toward him on his left. And there's that cutter again, coming right in on the thumbs. That bat goes all the way into shallow left field.
Two and two to Braun, and a throw will send Weeks back to the bag. They've played an inning and a half at Turner Field in Atlanta. And the Braves have a 1-0 lead over the Phillies. We'll see if they start Weeks here on a 3-2 pitch with 1 out. Reds leading in the top of the 4th inning, 1-0. Neither team with a hit in the game. Braun waiting. Weeks is running, and it's what a pickup by Rowland. Gets he out at first. Weeks will advance on to third. But what a play that was by Scott Rowland. That is a great play.
You know, it's almost like Scott Rowland has a fishing net on the end of his arm. The way he snags balls that seemingly are already by him. Makes a nice play at the other end right there, grabbing that ball and saving Joey Votto an error, and the Reds a run. But what a snag by Rowland. That's like having a vacuum cleaner on the left side of your infield.
What a year he has had. What a year.
Talk about surprising years. I think if you queried anybody and said who's had the most surprising year, a lot of people would say Scott Rowland. I mean, just from the standpoint of him being healthy all year long for the most part. What a rock on this roster and in that clubhouse.
Fastball runs down and in on fielder. 2 balls and a strike. Prince flied out to Drew Stubbs in center field, his only time up.
Prince tried to suck it in to get out of the way. That ball almost fell over forward.
Talking about his boiler?
Yeah. Ball looked like it was going right at it.
2-1 pitch. 3 balls and a strike.
Guy's a hitter now. And he's playing hard. You know, people have told me who have watched this Milwaukee Brewer team play the last week, these guys are playing as hard as if they were still in the hunt. Prince Fielder going from first to third on a pop up to the third baseman that was dropped the other day. Almost made it to home on him. You think that you get down the last 3-4 games of the year, that you're kind of coasting. You got your big contracts already. You don't have to worry about anything. Don't go into the offseason hurt. Ken Maka's team is playing very, very hard. They've won their last 7 of 9 ball games.
And of course, like with any team, when you have a couple of down years where you don't make the playoffs, the rumors will begin as to whether or not the manager is going to be back. There could be as many as 16 managerial changes in Major League Baseball during the offseason. It won't be that many when all's said and done. And there's a bouncing ball to Rowland. The force out at second to retire the side. A hit batsman and a walk, but no damage done. Still 1-0 Reds. Ohio.com and entering to win the Papa's in Your House contest. You can win a Fox Sports Ohio prize pack. And one grand prize winner will win a pizza party. The Papa's in Your House contest presented by Papa John's. Reds lead 1-0. They come to bat here in the bottom of the 4th inning against Mark Rogers, still looking for their first hit. Well, they took advantage of a leadoff walk, a stolen base, a ground out, and a fly out to jump in front 1-0 in the 1st inning, and that's where we stand. Two, 3, and 4 in the batting order. Brandon Phillips advanced Drew Stubbs 2nd to 3rd with a bouncing ball over the mound in the 1st inning, which led to that run. Joey Votto knocked him in with a line drive to Corey Hart. Interesting bit of trivia on this day in Reds history. 1978. Sparky Anderson's final game as manager of the Cincinnati Reds. It was a high fly ball into left center field. Ryan Braun with room. By the way, in that final game for Sparky, Johnny Bench hit a grand slam, and George Foster ended the game with a home run. Our AT&T Trivia question answer: who has the most career postseason home runs for the Reds? JB.
There's your old standard answer again, Tom.
Johnny Lee Bench. And there's number 2, our other guess. And Pete had 5 of them. Of course, Chris Sabo had a couple in one game in that World Series sweep over the Oakland Athletics. I believe it was game 3. That was a fun weekend this summer, that Hall of Fame induction weekend. Chris Sabo is so excited. There's a drive. Straight away center field. Kane with room against the wall. Well, a couple of long, loud outs.
And we talked about how good the Reds outfield is defensively. This configuration that Ken Maka has out there for the Brewers tonight, pretty good. You see that ball just a little bit off the sweet spot, out towards the end of the bat. Ryan Braun already a catch right up against the wall. Lorenzo Cain, who you mentioned earlier, Tom, had one of the more dramatic catches we've seen all year long here. Crashing into the wall in left center field, robbing a extra base hit away from, I think it was Johnny Gomes, if I'm not mistaken. Try to dig that up and show it to you, but man, what a catch he made earlier this year right here in this ballpark.
2 down for Scott Rowland. Easier play this time for Ryan Braun, and it's a 1-2-3 4th inning. Reds without a hit. Neither team with a hit, but the Reds lead 1-0. into the upper deck off the bat of Brandon Phillips, a 2-run home run in the 6th inning. Reds also got home runs in the game from Johnny Gomes and Drew Stubbs. Reds have a new third baseman. Scott Rowland has been lifted in favor of the rookie Juan Francisco.
I don't think that was a scheduled replacement right there, Tom. We'll find out what's going on with Scott Rowland as to why he left the ball game, but let's hope that it's just a little bit of a twinge. Maybe he felt something and decided not to push it. Made a great play on a ball that was hit to his left, dove to get that, and then he had to reach high to get the ball that was thrown across the infield by Joey Votto. Still in the dugout, so that's good.
That's a real good sign. Lorenzo Cain takes a fastball up and in. 2 balls and no strikes. Escobar was lifted from the game at shortstop in the bottom of the 4th inning. So Luis Cruz will follow Cain in Escobar's spot.
You know, I say it wasn't scheduled. It may have been scheduled. Just we did not know about it. Could be one of those situations where Dusty's going to let his starters play a little bit, kind of like a spring training game. Get them a couple of at-bats, get them a few ground balls, and then get them out of there before they wear themselves down.
And he had said that prior to yesterday's game, that would be the plan. Not for everybody, but for one guy one night, maybe a couple of other guys on Saturday. But here's a play we were talking about after Rowland made the diving play, landed on his hip, got up and threw out the runner. But we were watching him when the throw came back over. Right there. Almost to kick the ball. You don't see him do that very frequently, but probably nothing. We certainly hope nothing. Francisco, his first try, and handles a pop-up easily in fair territory for out number 2, and Lucroy coming up. See where they have a rain delay tonight at Fenway Park in Boston. The Yankees and the Red Sox. Of course, everybody thought maybe when the season began, those 3 games might determine who would be in the playoffs, who might be a division champ, who might be a wild card. Well, it's true as far as the Yankees are concerned, but not Boston. But because the Yankees are where they are in the standings, and that's in a tie with Tampa Bay, they may sit there all night at Fenway, or have to play a doubleheader tomorrow. And boy, this time of year when you've got your eye on the playoffs, that is the last thing in the world you want to have is a doubleheader. Talked about how one National League Division Series will start on Wednesday, the other will start on Thursday. Both American League Division Series will start on Wednesday. Gone swinging Lucroy. 5 hitless innings for Travis Wood. Reds lead 1-0. Shop of the Cincinnati Reds at Reds.com. All the latest stuff to get you ready for the playoffs. Get your gear from these stores. Shop the Reds.com official store. I was flipping through the store on the internet yesterday afternoon. Maybe looking for that, that hoodie, something like that to wear to the playoff game, sit in the stands. Man, do they have some nice stuff. A lot of the kids, they like the jerseys. I like those hoodies.
Well, when it gets cold, nothing better than a hoodie.
I mean, they've got the red, they've got the gray, they've got those fleece pullovers in red, black, gray. Really sharp looking stuff. Jay Bruce against Mark Rogers to begin the Reds' 5th inning. Neither team has a hit so far in this game.
Interesting story on Mark Rogers is that, he spent the majority of the season down in Double-A in the Southern League. He had 24 starts down there. They brought him up to Milwaukee to put him on the biomechanical machine that they have, the evaluator in Milwaukee, where they put all these little diodes all over your body, and they have you throw, and they test your throwing motion, and they measure your stride and how fast your arm goes through and the direction of your arm and so on and so forth. And the kid tested out great. And it was so good that they said, well, why don't we put him in a big league uniform and give him an inning here or there. Well, he went out in his first inning and he dominated. They said, well, let's give him another inning. A couple of days later, they put him in a game, give him another inning. And they said, well, he's pitched so well, let's give him a start. And that's where he ended up getting his start. His last time out, pitched 3 innings against the Marlins. And here he is back again now in the rotation. Looking for his 5th no-hit inning of this ball game.
And as you mentioned earlier, he's now pitched a grand total of 9 major league innings and has not allowed a single hit.
Amazing.
3-2 on Jay Bruce. Bruce struck out his first time up and has done so again. 5 of them for Mark Rogers.
You don't see all that many #1 draft picks out of the state of Maine. He's got a good arm. We heard that he could throw the ball very hard. He's got kind of a quick arm and good explosive leg action. Look at the big, thick legs he has. Big, strong lower body and core. Started working on his dad's lobster boat when he was 7 years old. Boy, you don't think he appreciates how easy it is to pitch in the major leagues compared to hauling up lobster traps. Said his dad has one of the toughest jobs there is. Every day out at 5 a.m. hauling traps up just about all year long. All right, imagine it get a little bit chilly up there pulling those traps out.
Brother.
You get those nor'easter blowing.
It's also very dangerous work. Not only hard work, extremely dangerous work. Now, that biomechanical machine you were talking about a minute ago, is that at the behest of Rick Peterson, their pitching coach? He's a big believer in that kind of thing.
I asked the same question, Tom, and actually the Brewers had that set up prior to Peterson being here, but I think he has something to do with, the Brewers using it more regularly now.
Well, you have been talking about Rick Peterson for a long, long time. I know you've kept an eye on his career, and
I've known him for a long time. He's been around a lot of different organizations, and some have bought into his theories and some have not. But he's a very mechanical related guy. He was one guy who early on said that Mark Pryor had a very bad delivery, where a lot of people said he had a great delivery. And said his arm's never going to be able to take the torque that he puts on it, just from a mechanical standpoint.
And there is our first hit of the night. A 1-out roller into center field by Johnny Gomes.
They ought to take that ball and give it to young Mark Rogers. He had to roll in the dugout because he did a pretty nice job to start his major league career, going 9 innings before giving up a hit.
They might want to give it to Johnny Gomes, because if his kid's pitching the way he's pitching right now, Johnny might want that baseball. I got the first hit off this guy. So for the first time since the first batter of the game, there goes Johnny, and the throw will not be in time. For Johnny Gomes, his fifth stolen base.
Hey, Ricky Weeks stood right in there waiting for Johnny Gomes and the throw at the same time. The throw a little bit to the first base side of second base. And he gets out of the way of Gomes as Gomes kind of goes in there and gets it with his shoulder. That's the way that Justin Morneau got a knee in his helmet earlier in the year with the Minnesota Twins, and he is still out with concussion-like symptoms.
Yeah, he just made a statement, in fact, yesterday after taking a little batting practice that he will not be available for the American League Division Series. And they said, well, what about the next round if you make it to the LCS? He said, the way this thing is going, I have no idea. It was really a sad story.
A situation just like this, where the runner's sliding in, the throw being taken by the middle infielder. In that case with Morneau, it was John McDonald of the Toronto Blue Jays, and he just slid right into his knee and got him on the side of the head, and has had major problems ever since. Real shame.
Deep in the hole at short, it's knocked down by Cruz. That'll be an infield hit for Ramon Hernandez, with Johnny Gomes advancing on the third.
Now the kid's given up a couple of hits in this inning, but neither of them really much to speak of. Seeing eye base hits, Gomes up the middle, that one in that 5.5 hole. Cruz, who took over for Escobar, knocks it down but can't do anything with it.
Had an interesting talk the other night after the celebration with Ramon Hernandez for a long time. And, well, he has really enjoyed his 2 years playing here in Cincinnati. He talked about it at length. There were no cameras around. He wasn't, just giving lip service. He wasn't sure what it would be like when he came here. He knew he'd get a chance to play. But even in a year when he has shared time with Ryan Hannigan, so these last couple of years have been very, very enjoyable.
That's been a tricky thing that Dusty Baker's had to negotiate through. How you get two guys who think they should be the starting catcher and divvy up the playing time so that they each reach their potential, but they don't. One guy doesn't play so much more than the other that the second guy feels left out. And they have complemented each other tremendously.
Well, Giannis bounced out to third, his only time up. A .263 hitter during the regular season. But batting with runners in scoring position, a .386 batter is Paul Giannis. Well, now what do you do with him on a 2-0 count? Rick Peterson out to talk with Mark Rogers.
Now they're trying to make sure that he just straightens out and just relaxes and tries to finish out this inning. This will probably be his last inning. They had about a 70 to 75 pitch count on Rogers. Ken Maka checking with the bullpen. Maybe he's calling Papa John's. I don't know.
Nothing wrong with that. A little soft.
No.
During the game.
They've got it down in the bullpen. I can guarantee you that.
High bouncer on a 2-0 pitch is fouled. Well, Paul Giannis was the guy who hit that ball you talked about earlier, the catch made by Lorenzo Cain.
It certainly was Giannis. Look at Cain coming from shallow center field and in a full run leaps and hits that fence of left center field, and he stayed in the ball game. It was just a miraculous catch, and he showed everybody in his ballpark a whole lot when he, after being knocked around a little bit, probably saw stars, and ended up staying in the ball game.
Here comes a squeeze. And how about that? You can't do it any better than that. And that has been a big part of Reds baseball this entire year. A 2-0 lead.
Now you read the fine little ball right here. The Reds have a couple of hits in the inning, both ground ball seam base hits. You get the man to third base. And Mr. Dependable, Paul Giannis, lays it down. Here comes Johnny Gomes. He can walk home from there. I love that play. I mean, I love that play.
Great play. And you know if the Reds have the chance, I mean, there's some things you might think about doing a little bit differently. If the Reds have a chance to do that with the right guy at the plate, Dusty will do it in the playoffs just like he tries it in the regular season.
Well, the thing that you note is that all the scouts that are in the stands, and there's a bunch of them on those contending teams, and most of these teams send more than one scout, so they have multiple sets of eyeballs. That every guy looking for something else. Some guy might be watching the third base coach trying to pick up signs. Somebody might be watching Dusty Baker trying to figure out the signs that he's giving to Mark Berry. Other guys are just writing down the tendencies. And the tendency of Dusty Baker in a game like this is to lay that suicide squeeze down. Way more this year than we've seen in years past.
It really is interesting. You bring up something that a lot of fans, I'm sure, don't know about. This time of year, every single team that will be in the postseason in both leagues, the Devil Rays, the Yankees, Minnesota, Texas, Philadelphia, Atlanta, San Francisco, and San Diego, 8 teams. All 8 of those teams have at least one. Most of them have 2 scouts that are assigned to the other teams that are going to be in the playoffs, and they follow them for about the final 3 weeks of the year. So we're starting to get to know some of these guys pretty well.
They're all like Skyline.
And Mount Adams.
With you, we're down here by the Reds dugout. The Reds have been an all-around team this year, leading themselves to the National League Central Division Championship. But in the playoff, what aspect of their game do you think is most important? It's our Meyer textbook question of tonight. Pitching, hitting, defense, or speed? Text 1, 2, 3, or 4 to 37664. Standard text message rates apply. Well, the results coming up. And a reminder, after every playoff game, no matter when the Reds play, no matter where they play, switch it over to Fox Sports Ohio. We'll have Reds Live post-game after each Reds playoff game. Tom?
Jimbo, thank you very much. I know you'll be making your way to Cleveland, Ohio, along with Chris Welsh.
Yes, sir.
We've been looking up things that you guys might want to do on some of your downtime, because you're going to be up there for, if the Reds go all the way to the World Series, you and Chris will be in Cleveland, Ohio for almost a month.
That brought a double laugh.
I might bring my fire extinguisher just in case that fire on the lake breaks out again.
That was a long time ago now. They've done a real good job up there in Cleveland. Pitching overwhelmingly #1 in our Meyer text poll among those of you that have texted in. Meanwhile, Travis Wood is not allowed to hit. Chris Dickerson, the former Red, who came to the Brewers in the Jim Edmonds deal to pinch hit for Rogers, who threw the ball very well here tonight. Allowed 2 runs, 2 hits in 5 innings. Struck out 6 batters, did Rogers, and he walked only 1, and the only walk scored a run. That was the first batter in the first inning. One and 2 to Dickerson, and fouled back out of play. So, Chris, all joking aside, you'll be making your way up to Cleveland win, because if the Reds play in Philadelphia, that would be game 1 on Wednesday night. So you go play like Monday night?
No, I'll be up there Wednesday. Watch the ball game and be ready to host that show, sitting alongside my good buddy Jim Day, which will come to you right after the game is over. So you can tune regular Fox out and tune FSN on.
Gone swinging Dickerson. That's 6 strikeouts for Travis Wood.
It seems like every one of these Reds pitchers in their last start has made a statement, to the rest of the team, to Dusty Baker, to Reds fans, that is just shout out saying, hey, I am ready. I mean, Bronson Arroyo looked so good. Johnny Cueto the other night was dominant. Edinson Volquez in his last start, he was dialing up to about 96.
Straight away center field, and the first hit produces the first run for Milwaukee. Home run number 29 for Ricky Weeks, and that cuts the lead in half. It's a 2-1 game.
We've seen this young man for a long time, Tom, and he's finally having a kind of breakout year offensively. The Brewers thought he would. Again, I think that was one of those little cut fastballs that Week jumps all over. Loves a ball up and loves a ball out over the plate. Boy, he's got a quick bat.
And 1 to Corey Hart. Swings through that one, up and away from him. 1 ball and 2 strikes on Hart. Philadelphia and Atlanta are tied 1-1. That game in the top of the 4th inning at Turner Field. And Philadelphia has all their horses in a lineup tonight. Everybody wondered, having clinched home field advantage throughout the entire playoffs. The Phillies have the best record in all of baseball, not just the National League. But, would they play all their regular guys over this final weekend against an Atlanta team that has a 2-game lead in the wild card, or would they give some guys a rest? In the air to Drew Stubbs, and there are 2 out. Now, the Phillies aren't playing every single one of their regular players tonight, but, a very competitive club being put on the field. Ryan Braun struck out looking in the first inning, had that hit taken away on a marvelous defensive pickup made by Roland at third base in the fourth inning. Hard hit ball again by Braun. He's just shaking his head running down to first. He's hit a couple of bullets his last 2 times up, but hit him to the wrong guys. Weeks a home run to make it a 2-1 game. Coors Light 6th inning, and now it's time for the Coors Light freeze camp. Chris, here it is. The squeeze coming.
You know, when you perfectly execute the squeeze the way the Reds did in this inning, just a thing of beauty. All Giannis is trying to get the ball down. Johnny Gomes breaks at the right time, and there is no defense for it. I think Paul's done it a couple of times this year, at least.
Yep. That was the Coors Light freeze camp, brought to you by Frost Brewed Coors Light. To the bullpen go the Brewers. Very talented young man who's had a number of problems off the field. And we've seen him pitch, Chris, and man, does he have good stuff. Jeremy Jeffress.
Well, we're seeing back-to-back tonight what the Brewers hope is going to be their future, starting now and then into next year and beyond. Jeremy Jeffress, you're right, Tom. If he can keep himself clean, you're talking about a young man with as gifted of stuff as you'll find anywhere.
Well, he's one more infraction away from being suspended, if I'm not mistaken, Chris, for life.
Yeah, his last suspension was 100 games. His first was 50 games. He tested positive for some kind of controlled substance.
Drew Stubbs, a batter, followed by Brandon Phillips and Joey Votto. Reds lead 2-1. And of course, we've talked about a lot of things looking ahead to the playoffs. But let's not forget. I mean, is it likely? No, it's not likely. Is it possible? Of course. If the Reds can sweep this series, and somehow, some way at the same time, San Diego go to San Francisco and sweep a 3-game weekend series. Game 1 will start in about an hour and a half from now. No longer would it be the Reds and the Philadelphia Phillies and the Reds starting on the road in the playoffs. The Reds will be playing here on Thursday against a yet-to-be-determined opponent.
Well, it would be nice to see home field advantage, because obviously if you look at these statistics over the years, the home team definitely has the advantage. And more so as you get into the longer series.
Now you look at the importance of the home field advantage as you talk about, Chris, and you break down all the numbers. The winning percentage of the home team in divisional series games is .539. In the LCS, basically the same. The World Series is where there's a pretty significant jump. It's up over .550. But it should be noted, that's one thing to say the winning percentage of the home teams. But I think you might be a little surprised as that one is driven into left center field, and this could be 3 bases. And Stubbs will easily make it 3 bases. He broke it down at second base, knowing there was no chance they would throw him out. Man, can he run. Wow.
Yeah, this is not a ballpark made for triples at all, because there are no real deep corners where you can hide the ball. But you've got the kind of speed that Drew Stubbs has, and he runs so smooth it doesn't even look like he's in full gear. This ball splits the outfielders, and look at the long stride, just as smooth as silk. Young man that had a chance to play wide receiver at the University of Texas.
Infield in. Runner at third. Nobody out for Brandon Phillips.
You're getting back to the scenario of the Reds possibly not having to go to Philadelphia to play the Phillies and instead hosting what would be probably the San Francisco Giants. You know, Tom, if you acknowledge that the Phillies are the best team in the National League with 95 wins, it's pretty hard to argue that they are not, especially coming off the years that they have had. Win the World Series a couple of years ago, postseason again last year. I think 4 times in a row now they've been to the postseason. So let's acknowledge that they're the best team. Well, wouldn't you think it'd be easier to win 3 games out of 5 against them than it would be 4 games out of 7?
I think a lot of people have made that point, and I think it's a very viable point indeed.
I mean, you may play the Phillies. If you're the Reds, you may stack up against the Phillies and play them 100 times. And they may win 65 of those games. They may win 55 of those games. But chances are they're going to win more than 50% of them because they're overall a better team. But if only you have to play them 5 times, all you have to do is win the first 3. Then you can lose the next 97 out of those 100. But you're going to go to the next round, and if it's here in 2010. So,
well, I was starting to mention about the overall series advantage in division series play. Teams with the series home field advantage in the division series have won 31. They've lost 29. That's not much of an edge.
Yeah. I guess it's time to say it. That's why you play it on the field. I'm not going to let you get out of here in your last broadcast of the 2010 season without me dropping off that little word of wisdom to you once again.
When you dropped that on me, I think it was back in the month of May. I felt like I'd been tasered. I don't know if I'd had anybody else wrap it up the way you did in that simple sentence. 2-2 to Brandon Phillips. Infield in. Stubbs at third. And that's ball 3. When you said that night, I think we were in Houston. That's why you don't play the game on paper. You play the games on the field. Man.
You're still twitching, too.
That should have been our Geico quote for every game this year. All right, now the 3-2 on Phillips. Jeffress. A look at Stubbs. And this will bring in another run. Into right center field. Hart at the track. Tagging and scoring Drew Stubbs. And the lead back to 2. Well done, Brandon Phillips.
Well, he's had 2 productive outs tonight, has Brandon Phillips. He advanced Drew Stubbs to third base back in the first inning with a ground ball. That set up the Reds' first run, and this drives in the Reds' third run. A nice overhand four-seam fastball. Boy, you really get a good look at the rotation of one of those fastballs, and Brandon drives it a long way going hoppage.
All three of the Reds' runs tonight have scored with a runner at third base and less than 2 men out. Sac fly by this man, Joey Votto, in the first. The squeeze by Giannis, plating Gomes in the fifth. And now the triple by Bruce Tubbs and the fly ball from Phillips. It's one thing to look at a guy's numbers and what they do with a runner at third and less than 2 men out during the regular season. My, oh my, how those situations are magnified beginning next week. And the Reds tonight are a perfect 3 out of 3. Votto, a big swing and a miss on a 3-1 pitch. Struck him out on a fastball at 94. 2 away in the inning.
Now, we've seen some pretty hard throwers here so far tonight. Mark Rogers dialed it up to about 93, 94. That fastball right by Joey Votto.
Now the first at bat tonight from Juan Francisco, who replaced Scott Rowland a couple of innings ago on defense. Well, after very serious injuries to both Jim Edmonds and Lance Nix, 2 guys that were lead pipe locks to be on the Reds postseason roster, there was a lot of concern about what might happen in terms of having the left-handed hitters coming off the bench in the playoffs. Now, Lance Nix played 9 innings here the other night. He was on base 3 times, had a couple of hits, felt fine the following day, so that is a very positive sign. And Jim Edmonds continues to maintain that he's got a chance of being ready for the playoffs. He hit that home run, Chris, when you and I were together with a team in Milwaukee over a week ago. And you wondered, would that be the end? He hit that home run and running between second and third. Felt something in his Achilles tendon around that area. First they feared it might have ruptured. It did not. He's still walking around with a boot on. But they're treating that thing. I spoke with him at length before the game yesterday. And he's quite hopeful. Weeks. Not in time. That'll be an infield hit for Francisco. Hey, the big fella can run a little bit.
They've got some athletes on this roster, and here's a young guy that we've talked a lot about his power, his bat speed. Rick Sweet, his AAA manager, who's up here right now, will tell stories about just mammoth home runs that he hit down in Louisville this year. But he shows a little speed. A good throw would have gotten him, but he'll end up on base with 2 outs.
Now Jay Bruce with a run home, 1 on and 2 men out. 1-2 on Jay Bruce.
Strike 3, and that'll end the inning. And the Reds get a triple from Stubbs, a sac fly by Phillips, and lead as we go to the 7th by a pair. Fastest 3G network, AT&T Rethink Possible. By your Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky Honda dealers. Visit mycincinnatihondadealer.com. By Wendy's, you know when it's real. And by Grainger. Grainger has 900,000 products to help you get your job done. Grainger, for the ones who get it done. Along the banks of the Ohio, final weekend of regular season baseball into Queen City. And there will be postseason baseball in Cincinnati. A 3-1 Reds lead here in the 7th inning. Travis Wood has allowed 1 hit and 1 run. A solo home run by Ricky Weeks in the 6th inning. You know, I failed to mention, you talked about how good these Reds pitchers have been over the last couple of weeks. When this guy, Prince Fielder, walked back in the 4th inning, it was the first walk that Reds pitchers have allowed in 29 innings. The 28th inning it occurred in. How about that? And I don't think anybody's walked more than 1 or 2 batters in a game in a couple of weeks.
You're right. I think a lot of that, Tom, has to do with, you know, not only the pitching philosophy, but the approach that Brian Price has taken with this team this year. I mean, the leaps and bounds of improvement that we've seen out of some existing pitchers, and then to have some of these guys jump on the scenes. I mean, Brian Price really had nothing to do with Mike Leake, with Travis Wood, until they got up here. So they're learning something somewhere. In Leake's case, he learned it as he was growing up in the backyard from his dad and his coaches over at Arizona State. But Travis Wood is a product of this organization that we have seen year after year get better and better. There's better coaches down there in the minor leagues. They seem to be much more on the same page than ever before. And, I mean, you get guys like Teddy Power and Tony Fossis, Tom Browning, all with great major league experience. Bob Forsch in the minor leagues teaching your youngsters, you're going to get good products. And that's what we're looking at right now. And let me tell you what, there are more in the pipeline.
Casey McGee is lined out softly to Joey Votto and bounced out into a fielder's choice, stranding 2 runners in the 4th inning. When the Reds get it done with an RBI this year, that means another $25 from Shigley goes to the Reds Community Fund. Shigley gets done. One-two to McGee. And a fly ball into left center field. And a step out of the reach of Johnny Gomes. Throw goes in, and they nearly got McGee. I don't know if McGee was sort of taking his time around the bases or whether he just doesn't run very well. But Drew Stubbs nearly threw him out.
Yeah, it looked like maybe from McGee's standpoint that Johnny Gomes had this ball in his hip pocket. And at the last moment, it looked like Johnny got spooked by maybe the presence of Drew Stubbs. He just kind of pulled back on it right there, and it ends up falling for a base hit.
Only the second in the game for the Brewers, and here's Lorenzo Cain, who has struck out and fly to Stubbs. Reds lead 3-1. We're in the 7th. This will be the 100th pitch of the night from Travis Wood, and it's a swing and a miss.
Good looking changeup right there. We haven't seen him throw really all that many off-speed pitches tonight. Only a couple of curveballs, only a few changeups. A little more of a split finger grip. You see how he pronates his hand on that. He kind of pulls it down with his index finger and gets that ball to go away from the right-handed hitter like a screwball.
Reds have double barrel action in their bullpen. Right-hander is Logan Ondrusik. The left-hander is Arthur Rose. And there's a base hit into right field. They'll hold the runner McGee at third base. And now all of a sudden the Brewers have a tying run aboard and the potential go-ahead run coming to the plate. And it looks like the night is over for Travis Wood. And it is. Dusty Baker is signaled for the right-hander Logan Ondrusik. What an outstanding effort tonight again from Travis Wood.
You know what can you say about this kid that you haven't already? Only 3 hits and 6 1/3 innings for Travis Wood. This young man bursting on the scenes in the major leagues for the first time this year. His next start will be a playoff start.
Day, presented by Walgreens. There will be drawings for fan prizes throughout the game. You win trips, merchandise, so much more. For tickets, call 513-381-REDS or go to Reds.com. The final game of the regular season Fan Appreciation Day, Sunday. All right, they're on the corners. The night is over for Travis Wood. He'll give way to Logan Ondrusek, who's only allowed one earned run in the entire month of September. Fred Counsell is batting for Cruz. And Counsell takes a breaking ball in 1-0.
From one rookie to another, a left-handed rookie Wood to the very tall 6'8" right-handed Logan Ondrusek. Looking for a ground ball right here, and he just pounds the bottom of the zone.
It has just been an outstanding rookie year indeed, especially when you think back to how it began for Ondrusek. It was spectacular during the spring. Made the opening day roster. His major league debut really struggled. Had a hard time his first couple of weeks in the big leagues. Was sent back to the minor leagues. And since coming back, he has been lights out. But he allows a base hit to Counsell to drive in a run. And Kane goes first to third. Throw there a fraction late. And Counsell a pinch hit run scoring single to make it a one-run game.
What a throw by Jay Bruce. I mean, he did not get his man to third base, but it was no fault of his. He came up throwing, and this ball is a rocket right on the money. If you're a scout sitting in the stands and you see this, you make a note and you put a couple of circles around it. I'm not so sure there's another outfielder in the National League that can throw the ball quite like that as consistently as Jay Bruce has this year.
Well, now all of a sudden you're in danger of that 3-1 lead evaporating. And here's Jonathan Lucroy. Lucroy is lined to left, struck out swinging. He looks at a ball. One and one on Lucroy. And it's in the air and fouled off on a play. I've talked about Craig Counsell frequently through the years every time the Reds play the Brewers, but with the Reds getting ready for the playoffs, Counsell is the prime example, maybe more so than anybody I can think of in recent years off the top of your head. It just goes to show you never know who the hero is going to be when the playoffs begin. Of all the great players when he played on that 97 Marlins team, that ball is in the air. And Kane runs very well. Johnny Gomes makes a catch. And Kane will score, and we are tied at 3. Pinch hit RBI single by Counsell. Sac fly RBI from Lucroy. Travis Wood cannot win it. He cannot lose it. We're tied at 3.
Tough break for Wood because he pitched far well enough to be able to put a W next to his name tonight.
Well, pinch hitter Joe England will come and bat for the pitcher Jeffress, who in an inning allows a couple of hits and a run. England we saw over a couple of series when Corey Hart was out injured. Fly ball to left, inning over. But 2 runs for the Brewers. Reds come to bat in the bottom of the 7th, tied at 3. Presented by Mass Mutual. And both teams from the hits category have been pretty quiet. Each team with 4 hits, each team with 3 runs. So 3-3 our score after the Brewers get a pair in the top of the 7th inning. And back to the bullpen goes Ken Maka. A familiar face takes him out. I'll tell you about him in a moment. Craig Counsell remains in the game to play shortstop. And here's Big Todd Coffey.
Yeah, one of the fan favorites when he pitched for the Reds. Of course, Todd Coffey made himself stand out a little bit. Every time they call him out from the bullpen, he would sprint from that bullpen area, left center field, all the way to the mound. He did the same thing here this evening. Always gets a rise out of the fans when he does that. Big guy. Over 6'5" and well over 250. And he's the junior guy in the family. Todd Coffey's got a brother that's around 7 feet tall and well over 3 bills.
It's a big man. Oh, 2 on Johnny Gomes. He'll be followed by Ramon Hernandez and then Paul Yanush. Derek Lee, a run-scoring single for Atlanta, ties the game at Turner Field in the bottom of the 5th inning. Phillies and Braves knotted at 2 as Gomes has gone on strikes. That's 9 strikeouts in 6 1/3 innings tonight from Milwaukee pitching. Rogers fans 6 in 5 innings. Jeffress a pair in his only inning, and now Coffey. Starting to finish that thought, we never completed it when the Brewers got a couple of runs about how anything can happen in the postseason, and we made reference to Craig Counsell. When you think of 2001, we mentioned 97 with the Marlins. But in 2001, that was in the heyday of Glavine, Smoltz, Maddox. Counsell's team highlighted, of course, headlined by the duo of Randy Johnson and Curt Schilling. All the great position players for those two teams in that league championship series, which Arizona dominated, won it in 5 games. If there were odds going into that series as to who would be the league championship series MVP, the longest odds may have been on the guy that won it, Craig Counsell. Always remember back to that 1990 World Series. Billy Hatcher, what he did. Now, he didn't win the MVP, but he could have won it.
All right, so is there a way to take a look at your roster and kind of predict, which player just might have that type of magical series?
I don't know how you would, do you?
No, I don't know either. Maybe a guy that doesn't get too rattled. Maybe somebody hasn't played every day. Maybe somebody coming off the bench. A guy like, I don't know, Chris Heisey, Lance Nix. You really never know, do you?
You never know.
I'll tell you one thing about that Reds team, though. They played as a team.
Like this team. These guys play as a team.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah. Well, I thought you meant the 90 team. I'm sorry.
And that's one reason why so many people have drawn, comparisons and similarities between the two.
Paul Giannis after the walk to Hernandez and a liner right back to Coffey and a double play will end the inning. So we go to the 8th. Brewers and the Reds are tied at 3. Fly RBI for the first run by Votto. A squeeze from Giannis. Played to Johnny Gomes for the second run, and then a sac fly by Brandon Phillips after a Stubbs triple in the 6th inning. Reds 3 for 3 in those situations tonight. And threes are wild as we begin the 8th. And Nick Massett takes over on the mound.
Nick Massett, one of 3 major leaguers in the National League that have been in more than 80 ball games this year. This is number 81 for Massett. He pitched in 74 last year for the Reds. A converted starter when he was in the minor leagues over with the Chicago White Sox before, of course, being traded over in exchange for Ken Griffey Jr. And he's become the 8th inning man, and that's where he is right now.
Ball one to Weeks, who hit a long home run to straightaway center field to get Milwaukee on the board in the 6th inning. Also hit by a pitch in the 4th, which, by the way, was the 25th time that Weeks has been hit by a pitch this year, and that's a Brewers franchise record. Weeks looking fastball on 2-0 and was late. Phillies and Atlanta have gone now to the 6th inning. They're tied at 2. Again, Atlanta with a 2-game lead over San Diego in the wild card. And the Padres and the Giants are about 45 minutes away from teeing them up at AT&T Park. The only suspense left over in the American League is who will win the East. You can also throw in who will have the best record, because Minnesota has closed that gap, just 1 game back. Massett handles the comebacker to the mound for out number 1. Well, this week it's a Fox NFL Sunday doubleheader, beginning with the Detroit Lions taking on the Green Bay Packers at Lambeau Field. Some will see the Panthers and Saints. And in the Redskins and the Eagles, Donovan McNabb back to Philadelphia. Coverage begins Sunday at noon Eastern with the Ford Fox NFL pregame show. One away for Corey Hart. Hart 0 for 3 is bounced to third, fly to right, fly to center. Threw a fastball up around the letters and threw it right by him.
He's got all the pitches Nick Massett does. Fastball, slider, cutter. He'll throw a 2-seam fastball down and then away to a right-hander, try to nip the outside corner. And he's got that big hammer curveball in addition to a splitter. I mean, he's got the pitching repertoire of a starter, but he uses it all in 1 inning of relief. There's a curveball, and that is nasty. That actually might be the splitter right there. Wow.
Well, he knew what he wanted to throw. He shook off Hernandez twice. 2 away in the inning.
Hey, Reds fans, if you're in the restaurant industry, let JTM help you with great tasting products for your menu. Inspired solutions, better results. JTM. Well, that's the curveball right there. You see it coming out of his hand, spinning right off of his index finger, and it seems like the ball begins to even pick up spin more and more as it goes to the plate. Good fundamental job of blocking the ball there by his catcher, Ramon Hernandez. 2/3 of the way through an easy inning here. Through not so many easy batters either.
No. And one more big one to go, and Ryan Braun, who's hit the ball right on the screws his last time up.
Hey, Massett has owned the Milwaukee Brewers this year. This is the 7th game he has pitched against the Brewers and has yet to allow a run. He's only given up 2 hits, struck out 7 in 7 innings. Kind of a microcosm of what the Reds have done to the Brewers all year, which is dominate them.
Well, you got to be careful on this next pitch. Braun tightening up those batting gloves. Ahead in the count, 2-0. Making sure he's got a good grip on that bat.
All right. What do you throw him here, Tom? You got Massett's stuff, not your stuff.
I'm throwing gas.
That's what he did.
Comes right back. Oh, man.
That is a hammer.
Oh.
Wow. He kind of spikes his index finger. You see it kind of raised up just a little bit. But what great rotation. Almost 12 o'clock to 6 o'clock. That ball goes straight down.
What he does with that finger you talked about, Chris, does that almost border on knuckle curve?
No, not really. I mean, a lot of people call it a knuckle curve, but, you know, in the pitching fraternity, we're going to call it a spiked curveball. Really, all it does is get your index finger kind of out of the way, because on a curveball, your middle finger presses on the seam. That's where all your pressure is, between your thumb and your middle finger. Here it comes again.
Oh. All right, what about 3-2?
Sometimes you can fool the umpire. Gas. He's throwing 3 breaking balls in a row. You got him thinking about slower pitches. Braun's a great hitter, but still, after seeing 3 pitches, same velocity, now you add 20 miles an hour. Oh, he goes for another breaking ball.
And he missed. So now you're forced to face a left-handed batting Prince fielder. And that will bring a trip from Dusty Baker out of the dugout. No signal yet.
I didn't see who was warming up down there. I presume he got a lefty.
So Arthur was up earlier. And now the signal is given. He wants Arthur Rhodes. So Rhodes against Fielder. In a 3-3 game. We're in the top of the 8th inning. A runner at first and 2 men out. Back with more in a moment. Rhodes in a 3-3 game with a runner at first and 2 outs in the 8th inning. Man, these are going to be the kind of battles. Obviously, it won't be Fielder. But in that first round, it could be Chase Utley. It could be Ryan Howard. Where Arthur Rhodes or Aroldis Chapman coming into a tie game, or maybe the Reds a 1-run lead with a game on the line. This kind of at bat. It's going to be exciting stuff. Hernandez shaken up.
That ball looked like it got Ramon Hernandez on the wrist and then went into the on-deck circle and hit Casey McGee. Right off the back of the forearm. Even unsnapped his little wrist guard right there.
0-1 account on Fielder. 0-2.
2 pitches, 2 sliders.
Fielder got a fastball to hit right there and fouled it back to the screen. And Arthur Rhodes takes him out in Philadelphia for the postseason. A team he pitched for in 2006 and pitched hurt that year. And his numbers reflected it. It was one of the poorest seasons of his major league career. He missed the entire following season with surgery. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Did he go the appeal? And no, says the third base umpire Sam Holbrook. 2-2 to Fielder. Wood now, Chris Welsh on 3-2.
Well, he's only given him 1 fastball and this at bat. Everything else has been that slider. Good fastball hitter.
Struck him out to end the inning. What a spectacular year it's been for that man. Just simply spectacular. Tickets and secure the best seats and the lowest prices for another great year of Reds baseball figures to be. With a deposit of just $100, you'll guarantee yourself huge savings. You'll lock in opening day, the Yankees series, weekends against the Cardinals. Visit Reds.com/tickets for all the details.
And don't forget that after every Reds game, Reds Live on Fox Sports Ohio breaks down the action with the most comprehensive highlights, exclusive interviews with the players and Dusty Baker before anyone else. That's Reds Live, brought to you by Kings Honda in the Kings Auto Mall. Visit KingsHondaUSA.com.
Cameron Lowe takes over on the mound for Milwaukee, and the Reds will send up Lance Nix to bat for Arthur Rhodes. 1 batter, 1 strikeout for Sir Arthur. And Nix looks at ball one. Let's see if the Reds can do what they have done so frequently this year, and that's win a game in their final at bat. The Reds and the Phillies tied for second with 22 wins. In their final at bat of the game, the team Philadelphia is playing tonight has the most. Atlanta with 25. Reds had a 2-0 lead. They had a 3-1 lead. Lost them both. 2-1 to Nix. Nix 12 out of 44 is a pinch hitter with a pinch hit home run. Talk about Nix getting a start in the game a couple of nights ago. Looked very good at the plate. He struck out his first time up, but his next 3 times up he singled, walked, and singled again, and was on base 3 straight times. Last time the Reds saw Cameron Lowe, they really roughed him up, but not to begin this inning. After a bases loaded walk, broke a 2-2 tie. The Phillies pile on, scoring 5 runs in the inning and lead Atlanta 7-2. Should San Diego win that game later tonight against the Giants, there will be some major league gripping going on in those two cities, Atlanta and San Diego. Be a 1-game spread in the wild card with 2 to play. Counsell throws out Stubbs. 2 out in the 8th. Now Brandon Phillips 0 for 2, knocked in a run with a sac fly to right in the 6th. Base hit left field. Go ahead, run aboard for Joey Votto. Peterson comes springing from the third base side dugout. across center field. Phillips making a hard turn. He'll go to third, and they'll stop him right there. Thought for a second that maybe had enough juice on it to get to the gap.
Well, he knows what kind of pitcher Cameron Lowe is. And when Lowe throws his fastball, it's not an overpowering four-seamer. It's one of these down and away sinking fastballs. And Votto knows that the chance of him jerking that ball to right field and hitting a home run are very slim. So take what the pitcher gives you, go to left field, play first to third, and see if Juan Francisco can drive Brandon Phillips in with a go-ahead run. Well, that is just good hitting right there by Votto.
Francisco had an infield hit, his only at bat after replacing Scott Rowland in the fifth. Go-ahead run stands at third base. 2 outs in the last of the 8th inning.
It's a little breaking ball. Francisco guessing fastball, and he just nearly comes out of his shoes swinging at it.
Fastball up and away, even the count 1-1. Runners on the corners, 2 gone in a 3-3 game. And a 1-1. Breaking ball and a beauty, a strike 2 on Francisco. Struck him out. Reds lead 2. We go to the 9th, tied at 3. Scott Rowland back in the 4th inning to take away a hit from Ryan Braun. And that is our John Morrell hot dog play of the game. 3 runs, 4 hits, 4 left for the Brewers. 3 runs, 6 hits, 4 left for the Reds. And a big round of applause for Aroldis Chapman, who takes over on the mound.
Well, he made his major league debut against this Milwaukee Brewer team just about a month ago. pitched 2 ball games against them, or 2 appearances, each of 1 inning against the Brewers. Separated by a day off, struck out 3 in the 2 innings that he pitched. Overall, he's been dazzling. Picked up a win in that Monday night ball game, the game in which Jay Bruce sealed it with that home run to center field to win it in the 9th inning.
Casey McGee to begin things. He'll be followed by Lorenzo Cain and then Craig Counsell. Strike 1. Out off down the first base line and out of play. It's 1-2 on McGee. It's normally about the point in time during the at bat when he breaks out that slider. That's the thing about the guys who have the rare stuff. Rob Dibble was one of those guys. You knew on 1-2, 0-2, and he was throwing it, and you still couldn't hit it. That one was hit hard. It was a slider. Francisco, a nice play guarding the line, 1 out.
Now that's one of those rare situations where guarding the line actually pays off for you. Statistics will tell you that 7 out of 10 balls that are hit down that way are more likely to be hit between the shortstop and the third baseman rather than the line. But you can sneak over that way a little bit if you know a slider's coming out of Chapman, because it'll speed the bat up. Chances are he'll pull the ball. A right-handed hitter will, and that's exactly what happens there.
We haven't seen Francisco a lot, but we've seen him to know one thing, if nothing else. He's got a cannon of an arm over at third base. Cain lost his footing there on a swing and a miss.
There was a time, might be gone now, the guy swings that hard at you, you'll be on your seat on the next pitch. You see swinging that hard against Bob Gibson? How about Stan Williams? Or even Rob Dibble?
Took a little off, dropped the breaking ball in there for a called strike. Crowd applauding as that one reaches triple digits. Two and 2 to Lorenzo Cain. And Chapman rocks and fires. Got a piece of it on the slider. So it is 2 and 2 on Lorenzo Cain.
What great extension. Keeps his front side closed as long as he possibly can. And then here comes that long arm whipping around there. Just got a piece of it.
Came back for the same pitch, and he didn't get a piece of it this time.
You know, Chapman looks nice and smooth when he pitches, but he really coils and uses his legs like every power pitcher does. But the fact that his arms are so long, his fingers so long, he just gives you a little extra spin and velocity on that breaking pitch. Boy, that's a tough one to try to hit. tough enough to try to track with your eyeballs, much less put a bat on it.
Now Craig Counsell with 2 out, nobody on. Counsell came off the bench and had a run-scoring single, sending the tying run to third in the 7th inning, and Lucroy tied the game with a fly ball the very next batter. Reds in the bottom of the 9th will have Jay Bruce, Johnny Gomes, and Ramon Hernandez due up. Chapman trying to take care of Counsell and keep it a 3-3 game. 2-2.
Well, that's a good shot right there, and it shows you that Aroldis Chapman has really good direction with his pitching delivery to home. He is right on line with his target.
Well, he shook off Hernandez and threw the slider. That runs it to 3-2 on Counsell.
Yeah, he had good success with it early, and it looks like he's just kind of become fond of it here in this particular outing. We've seen Chapman in particular certain outings, like the one he had in San Diego, where he threw nothing but fastballs.
Oh, here comes the gas on 3-2. A 1-2-3-9 for Aroldis Chapman. Reds will try and win it in the bottom of the 9th, with Bruce, Gomes, and Hernandez coming up. TimeToStory.com will put a smile on your face. Every customer, every vehicle, every day. And by Cincinnati Children's in the top 10 for all selected pediatric specialties in U.S. News and World Report's 2010 Best Children's Hospitals. They're fired up here for the bottom of the 9th inning. 3-3 game. For the Reds to have any hope of playing the first 2 games of the division series at home, They need to win these final 3 games over Milwaukee and get help from San Diego out in San Francisco over the weekend. And Jay Bruce, who had the Central Division clinching home run leading off the bottom of the 9th inning, will lead off the bottom of the 9th inning here tonight. Two on Jay Bruce. Cameron Lowe struck him out. Been a rough night for Jay tonight. He struck out 4 times in the game.
Cameron Lowe's got that little sinking fastball, but he takes a little bit off that pitch right there against Jay Bruce. Well, he's got really for a big guy, doesn't throw very hard, kind of a low arm angle, but keeps his fingers on top of the ball, which makes sure that when that ball moves, it's in a downward direction. We've seen him throw some pitches where it just drops right off the table.
Like one of Johnny Gomes. Johnny 1 for 3. Struck out looking, singled, stole a base, scored a run, and then struck out swinging in the 7th inning. Boy, the strikeouts tonight. A pile of them for Milwaukee pitching. 12 strikeouts.
And 10 strikeouts for Reds pitching.
Two and two to Johnny Gomes, batting here in the bottom of the 9th inning of a 2-2 count and a 3-3 game. Opening game of the final series of the regular season. Reds had a 3-1 lead before Milwaukee scored twice in the 7th to tie it. Well, Lowe wondering where in the world that missed. He might have a good break. Strikeouts for Milwaukee pitching.
Now this is the slider going down and away from the right-hander right there. Our Foxmo gives you a good look at the spin of that ball, and Gomes out ahead of it. Also perfect location.
Now Ramon Hernandez. And a tapper to the shortstop, and we're on our way to extra innings tonight. End of 9. The Brewers and the Reds are tied at 3. Great Lakes Beef Jerky. Feed your wild side. We're at Great American Ballpark. And we're on our way to extra innings. Brewers 7-5 in extra inning games. The Reds are 11-7. Reds are going to give the ball to their closer, Francisco Cordero.
Well, he is the sixth pitcher of the night for Dusty Baker and his crew. Travis Wood went 6 1/3. Everybody else has gone 1 inning or less. 73 games now for the Reds closer, who has 38 saves on the season. Reds looking to hold him right here, get a run in the bottom of the 10th, and nail down win number 90 for Dusty Baker.
Jonathan Lucroy to lead things off. They have Carlos Gomez in the on-deck circle. Then back to the second baseman and leadoff man Ricky Weeks in the Brewer 10th. Giannis. 1 out.
Well, he's played some good defense, has he not, this year? You know he always had the good glove. Little sliding stop right there and a gun across the infield.
The Reds not only have a lot of really good defenders, they've got 3 or 4 great defenders. I don't know how many teams in baseball can say that on one club.
You're talking about Gold Glove caliber.
Yeah, I mean, I'm talking there aren't 2 or 3 guys in the league that are better, if that many. And Stubbs is going to join that crowd in the not too distant future. I think it's safe to say Bruce is there already. We know Brandon Phillips is there. We know Scott Rowland is there. Orlando Cabrera has been a great defender for a long, long time. Maybe not the range he once had. But, man, does he still make some spectacular plays. And I don't think Votto's far from being there. You agree with that?
I agree with everything you said there.
But Giannis is a guy who, if he played every day, would be regarded, if not the best, he would be one of the 2 or 3 best shortstops in all of Major League Baseball.
I don't think there's any question about that.
He is a great defensive player. And that guy has been for a long time. Terry Francona, the manager of the Boston Red Sox, will tell you one of the biggest mistakes that franchise has made in recent years was letting Orlando Cabrera go. I believe that was the year they brought in Edgar Renteria, and everybody could understand that. In the air, left center field. Gomes has got it. And a very impressive 1-2-3 inning, 6-pitch inning for Cordero. And Mike McClendon takes over on the mound for Milwaukee. They got a couple of scoreless innings out of Cameron Lowe.
It's been a good job for both bullpens, actually. Coffey, Cameron Lowe, 3 innings total of shutout baseball for the Brewers, and now Mike McClendon.
Well, let's see if the Reds can put this baby away. They have Paul Giannis, a pinch hitter, Chris Heisey stands in the on-deck circle, and then back to Drew Stubbs. Reds had a chance with 2 outs in the 8th inning. They got consecutive hits by Phillips and Votto. But Lowe struck out Juan Francisco. And here we are in the bottom of the 10th. Giannis, a bunt foul behind 0-2.
He's already had the biggest bunt of the night.
A couple of notes over in the American League. Kansas City is grilling Tampa Bay 7-0. Tampa Bay and the Yankees tied atop the American League East. They are still in a rain delay at Fenway Park. Yanks and the Red Sox opener of that series. Giannis has gone on strikes. And Minnesota 1 game behind both those teams, trying to get the best record in the American League. Tied at 2 at home against Toronto in the 8th inning. Well, now Heisey to pinch hit. He has 4 pinch hit home runs this year. All of those came very early on. "14 strikeouts in the game for Milwaukee pitching." Jam shot pop up, easy for Counsell. 2 out. Now Stubbs, he has scored 2 of the Reds' 3 runs tonight. Takes a fastball off the inside corner. A walk, a stolen base, a run scored in the first. Drew struck out in the 3rd, tripled and scored in the 6th, rounded to short in the 8th. And ahead in the count here in the 10th, 2-0. Stubbs for looking to something to hammer right now and put this game to bed. Didn't get that pitch. 3-0. Got a green light in here, don't you?
Well, I don't. You know, if you're Drew Stubbs, yes, you probably give him a green light, but you know, you want to get him on base right here. I mean, the odds of a home run, just statistically speaking, not very good. You know, 1 out of every 10 at bats, even for a prodigious home run hitter. You get him on, Brandon Phillips, give him a shot to steal second base and drive him in. Seems like what happens a lot of times, you get into extra innings, not so much in the 10th inning, but as you get on later in the extra innings, 12th, 13th, 14th inning, it seems like a lot of hitters go up there trying to win it with 1 swing of the bat, and they become an easy out. And Stubbs thought that was way outside.
Links beef jerky, feed your wild side. End of 10. 3 runs, 4 hits, no errors, 4 left for Milwaukee. 3 runs, 6 hits, no errors, 4 left for the Reds. It's been clearly a pitching dominated game tonight. A lot of the young folks still enjoying this one. And Sam LeCure now follows Francisco Cordero on the mound. This guy's found a nice role for himself on his team.
Yeah, he really has, Tom. You know, for the most of the season, he was down in the minor leagues, starting down there. He gets a chance to come up here. He's had a couple of pretty good games for the Reds. Had a couple of starts midway through the year. He pitched and bailed himself very well. Now being used as a long man out of the bullpen. And so far, all the bullpenners have gone only 1 inning. And that may just change here with Sam LeCure taking the mound if the Reds can't get a run across.
First pitch swinging, Corey Hart, a base hit into left field. First hit for Hart in 5 trips to the plate, and that'll bring up Braun.
That's a breaking ball that didn't right there. He wanted that ball to break down and away, and it just stayed right about thigh high for Corey Hart.
Braun a hitless night, but has hit the ball so hard twice. Once robbed by Roland, another time a hot smash right at Giannis. A base hit by Hart, the first hit for Milwaukee since the Council single back in the 2-run 7th. That was against Logan Ondrusek. Since then, it's been Massett, Rhodes, Chapman, and Cordero. Now LeCure.
This is one of those games that if you're Sam LeCure, you hope you stay in there long enough until you can find your edge and where you can be able to put the ball where you want to. He's not pitched all that much. He pitched an inning the other night against the Houston Astros, but before that it had been a week. And he only pitched an inning in 2/3 then. And before that, it was 8 days. So the last couple of weeks, he's not been on the mound very much at all. And you're naturally a little bit rusty. Your breaking ball maybe not right there yet. Your release point not perfect, because no matter how often you throw down the bullpen, if you're the long man, you can't throw too much before the game because you may be in there for 5 or 6 innings. So you're caught between that rock and hard place as to how much you get to stay sharp and how much you get so you can stay strong.
Two and two to Braun after a leadoff single by Corey Hart to start things in this Milwaukee 11th inning. Prince Fielder on deck. Hart not much of a base stealing threat. 7 out of 12 attempts on the year. And now this Hart start on a 3-2 pitch up coming to Braun. Runner does go, and a foul ball off the bat of Braun, and Hart will make the U-turn and come on back. Reds a 1-0 lead in the first inning on a walk, a stolen base, a ground ball. Advancing Bruce Stubbs to third, and a fly ball to right by Joey Votto. Went to 2-0 on a suicide squeeze put down by Paul Giannis, plating Johnny Gomes. Ricky Weeks made it a 2-1 game in the top of the 6th inning with a home run, but the Reds got a run back in the bottom of the 6th on a triple by Stubbs and a fly ball from Phillips. So they had a 3-1 lead going into the 7th. And there's ball 4 to Braun, and there's major trouble of brewing now. Milwaukee scored in the 7th inning. Travis Wood still on the mound. A 1-out double by McGee. A single by Lorenzo Cain. In came Andrusik. Counsell a pinch hit single to make it a 1-run game. And Lucroy, a sac fly RBI to tie it.
Well, you can be a little more liberal with your bullpen now that you've expanded your rosters. Dusty Baker's already made the move for the left-hander, so it looks like it'll be Bill Bray. A short outing for Sam LeCure, and see if Bray can come to the rescue.
So we'll take a break. 2 on, nobody out. In a 3-3 game in the 11th. Fielder coming up, and on the pitch is left-hander Bill Bray.
He came up in late June, Bill Bray did, after recovering 16 months or more from Tommy John surgery. Appeared down the minor leagues a few times. 35 appearances so far. And throwing the ball very well right now. And the Reds need him very well right now because he's in a tough jam. First and second, nobody out.
Fielder swings and drops it foul over the screen and out of play. Strike 1. Mighty impressive numbers against the big fella for Bill Bray. Fielder saw the left-hander Arthur Rhodes in the 8th inning, and Rhodes struck him out.
Well, Arthur Rhodes got Prince Fielder with that slider that goes down and away from him, and that's really the pitch of choice for Bill Bray in a situation like this, too. Got ahead of him with the slider, throw a fastball down and in, and then come right back outside, probably with a slider here.
High fly ball into left center field will back up Johnny Gomes to the track. Hart races back to tag, and the throw is cut off. So Hart advances 90 feet, and the go-ahead run is 90 feet away with 1 out here in the 11th.
Well, a productive out right there. Not often do you see guys go from second to third on a fly ball to left field, but that ball was hit so far and backed up Johnny Gomes just about to the warning track that it gave Corey Hart, who's got above average speed, a chance to get to third base.
Well, back to the mound goes Dusty Baker. And the Reds still have a pile of guys available down in that bullpen. And they will summon yet another. This time it's Jordan Smith. So we will take another break. Bill Bray retires the only batter he faces. We're tied at 3. We're in the top of the 11th inning. Casey McGee, the batter. Jordan Smith now on to pitch for the Reds.
Pitcher number 8 for the Reds in this extra inning ball game.
Brewers have not been good in this situation this year. Dead last in the league with a runner at third and less than 2 men out in scoring that runner. And Smith trying to keep it that way. Got Ryan Braun over at first, and they'll keep an eye on him. McGee, of course, not your average run-of-the-mill guy up there at the plate. He's already knocked in 100 runs this year. And the 0-1 from Smith. Double play ball here. And it's bobbled by Phillips. And the run scores to make it 4-3.
Look like tailor-made DP lane right here. Ground ball double play going towards the second base bag. Maybe Brandon lost that ball momentarily, shielded by the umpire as the ball went right past the second base umpire, Mike DeMuro.
Boy, that's a tough break. I think you're right, Chris.
Yeah, only the 4th error of the year, all year for Brandon Phillips.
And the batter is credited with an RBI, even though it was an error by Phillips, because you can't assume a double play. But the way this Reds middle infield is played all year long, that was as automatic gets for a double play ball for Phillips and Giannis. (2-0) on Lorenzo Cain. So the Brewers have their first lead of the night. And here we are 3 hours and 22 minutes after this one originally got started. Two and two. Giants came up with a big defensive play in the top of the first inning with a runner at first, a double down the right field line by Adrian Gonzalez of San Diego, and they threw the runner out of the plate. Strike 3 to Cain. 2 out.
Well, that's a nice crisp fastball from Jordan Smith. Reds really know something about their own farm teams too, because when they were looking for a pitcher to bring up, they went all the way down the minor leagues in Double-A to pick up Jordan Smith. Surprised a lot of people with some of the veterans that they had down at the Triple-A level. And Smith has not disappointed one bit.
Ball one outside. Two and 0 to Craig Counsell. Jordan Smith fell behind 2-0 on Cain and came back to strike him out. Counsell came on in the 7th inning on a run-scoring single. Struck out against Chapman in the 9th. Out in front of the plate. Hernandez will get to it. And that'll do it. The damage done. Brewers get a run. Reds come to bat. Bottom of the 11th. Phillips, Votto, Francisco due up. Down a run.
On again, off again closer for the Milwaukee Brewers. Trevor Hoffman early in the year, as he was within striking range of 600 saves when he was signed by the Brewers, lost his closer's job early in the season, and John Axford took over, and that's where he accumulated his 23 saves. And he is back right now to try to nail this one down for the Brew Crew. One run up in the bottom of the 11th inning.
And a loss tonight would officially eliminate the Reds from having home field advantage in the National League Division Series. Brandon Phillips to lead off the bottom of the 11th inning and looks at ball one. Well, the Reds have the beefy part of the order here with Phillips, Votto, Francisco, Bruce, Gomes, if they can get that far against this Milwaukee closer. High fly ball into right field, and it's out number one. Sam LeCure right now the pitcher of record for the Reds. Mike McClendon for Milwaukee. Ball one to Joey Votto. 1 of 3 on the night. Knocked in a run with a fly ball to right in the first inning. Has fly to the warning track in center. Struck out, then singled to left center in the 8th inning. Good fastball at the knees there to even the count. Tried to check his swing and made contact with the bat. A ball and 2 strikes. Struck him out, and the Reds are down to their final out of the night.
Yeah, one Canadian got the other Canadian. Axford from the Ontario area. Simcoe, Ontario, not too far from Toronto. Ends up throwing his four-seam fastball right by the Reds Canadian. Interesting that Axford was almost a Cincinnati Red. He was drafted by the Reds in 2005. After he had spent some time playing for the Irish at Notre Dame, sat out more than a year with Tommy John surgery and decided not to sign with the Reds but go back to school. Ended up in Canisius College in Buffalo, New York, a little closer to his home outside of Toronto.
Juan Francisco more than capable of tying this game up with one mighty crack of the bat. 1 ball and 1 strike. All the monster power numbers Francisco put up 3 consecutive years in the minor leagues. Started 2 and was able to hold off. 2 balls and a strike on Juan Francisco. Reds batters tonight have struck out 16 times. High fly ball into left center field, and it's up against the wall, and Francisco just missing. Hitting one out of here the other way as a 2-out double.
Well, Francisco gets this one off the end of the bat, but he's so strong that he doesn't have to hit it in the sweet spot. To hit it all the way to the wall, that ball just about 5 feet or so from leaving this ballpark and tying it all up.
And he will be taken down for a pinch runner. Willie Bloomquist on the run. But Bloomquist is a very interesting guy that will be unable to play in the postseason. They're going to intentionally walk the left-handed batting Jay Bruce and put the winning run on base.
And pitch to Johnny Gomes. How about that? Jay Bruce, who has struck out 4 times on the night, gets an intentional walk right here.
We're talking about Bloomquist. Ever since he has come over here, the games, although they're few and far between, where he's gotten a chance to play, he has looked very good. Had a pinch hit in the game last night. Was on base 3 times in the game the night before. And Dusty Baker was talking a little bit about, you know, for his versatility on a playoff roster, how, you know, he might be a guy who plays infield, plays outfield, can pinch run for you, where those are the kind of players you like having on a postseason roster, but that's not going to happen. Right now, Rick Peterson out again. Has his left hand up on his pitcher's right shoulder, as he has every time he's come to the mound tonight. San Diego has taken a 1-0 lead in San Francisco in the 2nd inning. Must have got a home run to begin the inning off Matt Cain. Giants moving up Tim Lincecum, moving up Matt Cain, bringing it back on 3 days rest. One more Giant win and they win the West. Ryan Ludwig, the home run for San Diego. Well, the Reds are down to their final out. They have a tying run at second, the winning run at first, and Johnny Gomes digging in. Well, we talked about Jay Bruce having struck out 4 times. Johnny Gomes has struck out 3 times. Does have a single, a stolen base, and has scored a run. God, he looks like every swing he's trying to hit it into the Ohio River.
Pretty good looking fastball right there after a little teaser of a breaking ball in the outside corner that Gomes swung and missed on. Axford looked like threw a little two-seamer that really had a lot of hair and came back and caught the strike zone.
Game over. Brewers win it by a final count of 4-3. Brewers only had 5 hits in a game, but their pitcher struck out 17 Cincinnati Reds tonight. And now any hope is officially over for the Reds starting the playoffs at home in the division series. So LeCure the loser, McClendon the winner. He's 2-0. Sam is 2-5, and Axford is 24 saved. Chris, it's the final time I'll be joining you in the broadcast booth on the television side this year, and I can't thank you enough. After 17 years with you and George Grand together, the pleasure has been all mine. I want to thank everybody at Fox Sports Ohio, everybody we've had a chance to work with on our crew, the best crew in all of baseball up here in the booth every night. Our late great friend Mark Wagner, God rest his soul, Jesse Jackson, Dickie Moss, Jim Strickler, and everybody associated with our entire crew. And the Reds, thank you very much. It has been a blast this year.
Well, Tom, thank you. It's been really a lot of fun and learning experience working with you. I appreciate you. Your patience sticking with me a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
All the year long. We had a lot of fun up here. And, hey, first time we've seen the Reds in the postseason in a long, long time. And I was glad to share with you all season long. And, hey, feel free anytime you want to swing by the Fox Sports Net studios in Cleveland and join us in our post-game show, because if you're not doing anything down here, we could use a third body up there.
Yeah, you know, I was thinking I bought tickets for all the playoff games, but, I mean, who wants to go to the game here when you can ride up there? Have a good time. Have a great time on the show.
You know what? We're going to bring a lot of fun to the post-game show after those playoff games, and can't wait for it.
Can't wait
down
for
in the
it.
field waiting for us right now is Jeff Picoro.
Hey, thanks a lot, Chris. If we only had a microphone and camera going between innings, you get a lot more banter like that. All right, back to the game. One thing Dusty said before the game is there was a lot of players on this team that needed some work before the playoffs because he still had to do some evaluating. One of those places he needed to evaluate was the bullpen. Well, they got some work tonight. 8 different pitchers went to the mound from the bullpen for the Reds after Travis Wood. And as I go inside, I'll ask Dusty about that, if what he learned from those 8 pitchers that went out there. And that is on Reds Live, which is coming up right now. Jimmy, up to you.
Nick, thank you very much. We'll be looking for that Clubhouse Reacts, and the Reds will dissect into this one. An L in extras, 11 innings, and the Reds didn't get much offense going tonight. 17 Reds batters struck out on this night, including the final batter. Lefty makes a case, though, tonight. Travis Wood trying to make a case for that playoff rotation. If it's against the Phillies, you better believe he's probably going to be in there. And Clubhouse Reaction, it is straight ahead. You'll hear from the manager before anyone else. Stay with us. Stay up late with us on this Friday night. Brew Crew wins this one, but your Reds are playoff bound.